Picture two very different scenes. In one, a lab researcher watches cells behave as if they're getting younger. In the other, A would-be homeowner refreshes mortgage rates for the third time before lunch, watching numbers bounce around like they're alive. Today, we're living in both worlds at once. A longevity boom that promises we can extend health and vitality, and an economy where the cost of a home can change your plans overnight.
And these worlds have something in common: uncertainty. In longevity science, we've got headline-grabbing ideas like cellular rejuvenation. In housing, we've got rate roulette. Both leave people asking the same question: should I act now or wait?
Let's start with the hopeful stuff. Longevity research is buzzing with talk of therapies aimed at cellular rejuvenation. The big promise isn't just treating one disease at a time, it's the bolder idea that by restoring how cells function, you might reduce the risk of a whole menu of chronic illnesses at once. It's the difference between patching leaks and fixing the plumbing. And alongside the science, there's a new generation building the business side of living longer. Business outlets are spotlighting young innovators who aren't just publishing papers, they're creating tools, platforms, and companies to turn longevity into a real industry. That matters because when something becomes an industry, it changes how fast it moves and who gets access. But here's the twist. The experts keep reminding us that longevity isn't just molecules and metrics, it's also people. Social health keeps showing up as a major factor. Relationships, community, the quality of your connections. Not just do you have friends, but do you feel supported? Do you feel seen? Do you have someone who'd notice if you disappeared for a week? It's almost annoyingly simple, right? We want the futuristic therapy, the cutting-edge supplement, the new wearable, and then a researcher says, also call your friends. But the data keeps stacking up. Isolation is corrosive, and connection is protective.
And longevity shows up in surprising places. There's a synchronized swimming club in Des Moines that just hit its 100th anniversary. A century. That's not a biotech product. That's a living example of what long-running community can look like. Routine, belonging, and something joyful you keep showing up for.
Speaking of showing up, our modern lifestyle has its own kind of wear and tear. More brands are now targeting what you might call screen-aged skin, wrinkles and fatigue tied to expression patterns, long days, and digital life. New skincare tech is being marketed as a counterpunch to that constant front-facing camera era. So the theme so far is, yes, science is pushing boundaries, but daily habits still matter. And that brings us to the business trend. Longevity isn't just a niche curiosity anymore. Forecasters are talking about it becoming a massive sector, trillions of dollars, because everyone is waking up to the same reality.
Populations are aging, and we can't afford a system that only reacts after people get sick.
That reactive mindset is shifting toward prevention. It's showing up in workplaces, too. Companies being nudged to invest in keeping employees healthier longer instead of waiting for burnout, injury, or chronic disease to take people out of the game.
And when you zoom in on what prevention actually looks like, it's not all exotic. One trend getting louder: strength training and bone health. Cardio still matters, but muscle and mobility are the difference between living long and living well. Being independent at 80 often comes down to whether you can stand up, carry groceries, and keep your balance. Which makes this next point feel almost poetic. There's literally a simple sit-to-stand style test doctors talk about. Can you sit down and get up without using your hands? It sounds like something you'd do at a family barbecue, but it's a rough window into strength, coordination, and long-term mobility.
And longevity science is getting more personalized too. Researchers are finding that your body doesn't age as one single unit. Different organs may move at different speeds. Your heart could be older than your kidneys, biologically speaking, or vice versa.
That's a big deal because the future may look less like anti-aging for everyone and more like targeted aging support for the parts of you that need it most.
We also can't skip the weirdly fascinating frontier: animals that hibernate. Scientists study how some creatures slow everything down to survive harsh conditions, hoping to decode protective mechanisms that could translate into human health, how to reduce damage, preserve function, maybe even extend resilience. And then, just when you think we're only talking biomarkers and laboratories, longevity takes a sharp turn into culture. Celebrity icons get recognized for decades of staying power. Elite athletes stretch what we thought was an expiration date. Players like Chris Paul become living case studies in recovery, training efficiency, and durability. It's not just inspiration, it's a public demonstration that later can still be powerful. Plus, the market is expanding sideways. Not just humans, pets too. We're seeing new nutrition platforms and products that treat animal wellness like a longevity category. And on the skincare side, Companies are experimenting with new ingredients, even upcycled sources, to ride the demand for age-better products. Now, before we pivot, I want to highlight my favorite longevity intervention because it's free and kind of underappreciated: humor. There's long-term research linking a strong sense of humor with lower mortality risks from certain causes, especially among women. Obviously, comedy isn't a replacement for medical care, but it's a reminder that the nervous system, stress response, and resilience are part of the health equation.
And that takes us to the other storyline, the one with less laughter and more spreadsheet-induced despair: the housing market. Mortgage rates have been bouncing around, hovering in a tight band, but enough to mess with budgets and expectations. People watch 30-year rate quotes flip between the low and mid-sixes, and even that small shift can change a monthly payment in ways that feel personal. What's wild is that you can get a pause from the central bank, calmer inflation signals, and still see rates creep up anyway. It leaves borrowers thinking, am I missing something? The short answer is, you're not crazy. Rates don't move on vibes, they move on broader markets, things like investor expectations, swap markets, and energy prices. Factors most people never ask to learn about.
Meanwhile, buyers are still carrying around myths that won't die. Like the idea that renting is always throwing money away, or that you absolutely need 20% down. Those beliefs can pressure people into rushing, stretching, or feeling like they're failing if they can't jump right now.
And in today's environment, rushing can be expensive. If economists are right and we're in a higher-for-longer era, then people waiting for a dramatic drop might be waiting a while. That doesn't mean you give up. It means you plan differently.
There's also this strange emotional trap. When the market starts to tilt a little more buyer-friendly, some people get complacent. They think, finally I have leverage. And then they do something reckless, like skipping an inspection or waiving protections just to win a deal. That move is the financial version of trusting a stranger because their profile picture looks nice. Experts keep warning, don't trade away the safety checks. Inspections and contingencies exist because houses are complicated and surprises are expensive.
There is a sliver of good news for some homeowners. When global events ease up, like ceasefire news reducing certain pressures, rates can dip enough to make refinancing possible for a slice of people. For millions, that can mean real savings and a more manageable monthly payment. But for everyone else, the real story is the waiting game. Rates may not be predictable, and the forces driving them can feel completely disconnected from your day-to-day life. Your home ownership timeline might hinge on things you can't control and can barely pronounce. So how do these two themes, living longer and buying homes, belong in the same episode? Because they're both about playing a long game in a world that tries to pull your attention into the next headline.
Exactly. Longevity isn't just, can we extend life? It's, can we build the habits and systems that keep life high quality for decades? Housing isn't just, can I buy now? It's, can I make decisions that won't wreck the next 10 years? If longevity science teaches us anything, it's that small, consistent investments compound. Strength training, sleep, friendship, stress management. If the mortgage market teaches us anything, it's that you need guardrails, a budget with breathing room, skepticism about myths, and the discipline not to gamble away protections just because you're tired of waiting.
And maybe the most human lesson in both stories is this: don't build your future alone. Whether it's finding community that keeps you moving for 100 years, or having a team around you when you're making the biggest purchase of your life, connection is part of resilience.
So the next time you hear a bold claim about reversing aging, ask, what's real, what's hype, and what can I do this week that moves me forward? And the next time you see a mortgage rate jump, ask, is this a signal to panic or a reminder to stick to the plan and protect myself? Because whether we're talking about cells or interest rates, the goal is the same: make choices that age well. Please like, subscribe, and join us at IamHealthyMoney.com. Life has its ups and downs, but you're not alone. From 10 to 110, we're in this together, right here, right now. We love ya.